Owls in the Family, Chapter 6, Part 1. You can see that I have put 6 in Roman numerals. So the V means 5, and then the 1 after it means you add 1. So that's how you write 6 in Roman numerals. Okay, I know that quite a few of you have checked this out, but an extra weekend activity this past weekend was to look on this live owl cam. I put a YouTube link, and the address is explore.org. I changed it from the title being extra weekend activity. I changed it to live owl cam. So it should be really easy to find, and I redated it. So now it says Live Owl Cam April 20, so it should be near the top of your Fresh Grade feed. And if you are in Ms. Dosanjh's class and you don't have the link, go on YouTube, go to explore.org, and the one you're looking for is this one here, Great Horned Owl, and it says Rogers Place, and it'll say Montana. Sometimes that's the state in the United States where this great horned owl nest is, with 3 owlets in it. So you can turn that on anytime, day or night. I was watching it in the evening, and they have night vision on the camera, so you can actually see the baby owls and the parent owl anytime, 24/7. Sometimes they're doing nothing, but sometimes they're quite busy. All the sounds you hear in the background are ducks quacking because it sounds like it's close to a pond. Okay. Here are some live owl cam sightings from some of the students in our class that were watching it this weekend. Alanveer said, I saw them eating a dead rat at night. And I saw a dead rat in the nest too when I was looking one time. Ashy was watching, and she said the owl is eating. The owl is licking his feathers. Remember we talked about when they clean their feathers and they arrange their feathers, that's called preening. Abhijot was also watching, and he said, I saw them flap their wings and they flew away for 5 minutes. They came back and fed their babies. Very cool. And this is what I saw. Mrs. Ratzlaff said, I saw one of the owlets stand on the edge of the nest and poop. I did. It was very fascinating. All right. The research question last time was, what animals do great horned owls eat? And especially what bigger animals? Because in the last chapter, Wool got into the fight with a mean dog on the street, and it was owl versus dog, and the owl won. He took bit chunks out of the dog's ear, and he scratched up his back and everything like that with his talons. So we know that owls can fight bigger animals when they also eat and can kill bigger animals. So that was the research question. You guys did research and you found all kinds of cool answers. Here are some of the answers that you found. So we're going to start with the smallest one. So the smallest one is, of course, mice. Any kind of small rodents, great horned owls will eat. Bigger rodents as well, like rats. Okay, smaller birds, any kind of smaller little birds that you see outside in the trees, great horned owls would eat those. But they also eat raptors, which are birds that hunt and kill their prey. Okay, so this kind of bird right here eats worms and seeds and berries, but this kind of bird is called a raptor. They have the talons and they have the sharp beak for ripping apart their prey, and they hunt and kill their food. Also, larger animals like geese, great horned owls they can take down a goose in the air or on the ground. And here's some land mammals that they will attack. Now, raccoons are really vicious, but a great horned owl can take down a raccoon and eat it. It will also go after a skunk, which almost no other predator will. Predators pretty much stay away from skunks. We all know why. But a great horned owl doesn't seem to care about the spray or the odor of the skunk, and it will kill skunks and eat them. Great horned owls have been known to kill smaller foxes. So that's really amazing to think about that. And then the last one is there's also been some examples where great horned owls have killed small deer. So that is just really crazy to think about. If you think about the fact that a great horned owl only weighs about 2 or 3 pounds, they're very light, even though they look big and fluffy. It's all mostly feathers, and their bones are very, very light. And so if you can imagine taking 2 or 3 bricks of butter out of your mom's fridge and holding them, that is how heavy a great horned owl would be. That is not very heavy at all. Some of these animals would weigh, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, and yet they can take them down. So great horned owl is fierce, fierce predator. Chapter 6. On the day school closed for the summer, the T. Eaton department store announced it was going to sponsor a pet parade 2 weeks later, and there were going to be prizes for the most interesting pets and the best displays. Bruce was the first of our gang to hear about it, and he came right over to my house to tell Murray and me. "Hey," said Bruce, after he had told us all he knew, "with the animals we got, we could win a dozen prizes. What about it?" Murray and I didn't need much convincing. We spent the next couple of days planning what we'd do. First, we decided to hitch Mutt and Rex to my old express wagon. We would fix it up with colored cardboard and stuff so it looked like a circus wagon. We planned to put an old fur muff of my mother's around Mutt's neck to make him look like a lion. So that's like a fur scarf. And we were going to paint black stripes on Rex so he would look like a zebra. Then we decided to build a circus cage on the wagon and fill it with different types of gophers. Finally, we decided to have the owls riding on top of the cage, all dressed up in dolls' clothes. We had 2 weeks to get things ready, and we really worked. First, we built the circus cage, and when we were finished, it looked just like the real ones that used to come to Saskatoon with the Bailey Brothers Circus every summer. Ours wasn't as strong, though, because the sides were only cardboard, painted red and blue and yellow. And instead of iron bars, we used chicken wire to keep the gophers from getting out. When it was finished, we made a hike out to the bluffs near the exhibition grounds because that was a good place to find wood gophers. We caught 6 of them, and on the way home, we snared about a dozen striped gophers that were living in a cut bank by the roadside. Together with the 30 ordinary gophers we already had, this added up to an awful lot of gophers, and there wasn't going to be room for all of them in one circus cage. Murray fixed that. "Why don't we make another cage out of my wagon?" he suggested. "Then we'd have twice as much chance to win first prize." It was a dandy idea, so we went ahead and built the second cage. Then we decided to put some of our white rats with the extra gophers in the second one to make it different. The day before the parade, which was on Saturday, we had everything ready. I had borrowed some doll clothes from Faith Honnigan, who lived on the next block. Murray had got some washable sign paint from his dad so he could paint the black stripes on Rex. We had found a set of real dog harness for Mutt, and we had made a second set for Rex out of twine. The cage wagons were all finished and stored away in our garage so they wouldn't get wet if it rained. So boys and girls, I hope you're making pictures in your head of all these things that you're doing. That they are doing. Can you imagine painting stripes on your dog to make it look like a zebra and putting fur around your other dog's neck to make it look like a lion? My goodness. On Sunday morning, I didn't even wait to eat my breakfast before I rushed out to the garage. Murray was already there, but Bruce didn't come along for about an hour, and we were getting worried he might not make it at all. By the time he showed up, we had the gophers and the white rats all loaded, and I was trying to get the dolls' clothes on the owls. Bruce came into the yard with a shoebox under his arm and a big grin on his face. "Hi!" he shouted. "I guess we'll win the first prize, sure. Bet you can't guess what I have in this box." Murray and I couldn't guess. I shook the box a couple of times, and whatever was inside was pretty heavy. I was going to untie the string and open it when Bruce grabbed it away from me. "No, sir," he said. "Don't you do that. We might never catch this critter again." So critter is just another name for animal. We don't know what kind it is. "Oh, come on," I begged him. "What have you got in there anyway? Come on, Brucey, you have to tell us." "Don't have to, don't aim to," Bruce said. "Just you wait and see." Murray and I pretended we didn't care what he had in his shoebox anyway. I went back to putting the doll's clothes on the owls, and it wasn't easy. Weeps just stood there and whimpered while I pulled a pink dress over his head and pinned a floppy hat on him. But Wool took one look at the sailor suit I had for him, and then he rumpled himself up into a ball and began to clack his beak and hiss. It took two of us to hold him down while we got him dressed. By the time we were finished, he was in a terrible temper. We couldn't trust him to stay quietly on the wagon top after all that fuss, so we decided to tie him to it with some twine around his legs. That made him madder still. While Bruce and I were working on the owls, Murray was trying to paint the stripes on Rex. Rex didn't like it, and there was about as much black paint on Murray as on the dog. Then Murray said he might as well finish what Rex had started, so he smeared black paint all over his own face and said he would go in the parade as a Zulu warrior. Just before we were ready to start for downtown, Bruce took the paintbrush and printed some words on the shoebox. Then he tied the box to the top of the second wagon. What he printed was, "Surprise pet, do not feed." We harnessed up the dogs, with Mutt leading because he knew how to pull and harness and Rex didn't. Rex didn't seem to want to learn either. He kept pulling off to one side, and every time he did it, he almost upset the wagons. We had an awful time getting our outfit all the way downtown, and we were nearly late for the parade, which started at 10 o'clock. One thing, though, by the time we did get there, old Rex was just about worn out, and he had stopped acting like a bucking bronco. That's another name for a horse. The parade formed in front of the Carnegie Public Library, and then it was supposed to go about 6 blocks to the T. Eaton store where the judge's stand was. It seemed like 1,000,000 kids were there with every kind of pet you ever saw. One little boy, about 5 years old, was leading a Clydesdale horse as big as an elephant, and the horse had baby on the blanket it was wearing. If that thing was a baby, I hope to eat it. There were a lot of goats, and it was a hot day, and you could smell goats all over Saskatoon. Some of the girls were wheeling cats along in baby carriages, and the cats were wearing silly hats and were pinned down under lacy covers. Some of them were yowling fit to scare the dead. There were more dogs than you could shake a stick at, every kind of dog you ever heard about, and a lot of kinds that nobody ever heard about. Right in the middle of a parade was a boy leading a pet skunk on a string. He had the middle of the parade all to himself, too. Nobody was crowding him. There were pet rabbits, ducks, chickens, geese, a couple of pigs, and a bunch of pedigree calves. There was even one little boy carrying a quart jar full of water with a bunch of tadpoles swimming around in it. You'd expect lots of trouble with all the animals and the fact that it was a hot day and everybody was excited and there was so much noise. But there really wasn't much trouble. There were dog fights, of course, and one dog who wasn't even in the parade at all made a go for a cat in a baby carriage, and that stampeded one of the goats. But some salesmen from the store were in the parade too, and they got quietened down, though one of them got bitten on the leg, a little bit. It took about an hour for our outfit to get opposite the judge's stand. There were 5 judges, some women and some men. The mayor of Saskatoon was one of them. There were 2 Mounties, that's RCMP officers, beside the stand, dressed in their red coats. A lot of parents were jammed up against the stand too, so they could cheer if their kids won a prize. I'd had a good look at the parade by then, and there wasn't an outfit that had a patch on ours. We were sure to win a good prize, and I figured it would be first prize. We had a little trouble, though, when we got to the stand because Rex was so tired he just lay down and wouldn't get up again. But that only made the judges laugh, and they came down from the stand to take a good look at our entry. I overheard one of the women judges tell another woman that ours was the best rig she had seen and said, "Isn't it cute the way it's decked out, just like a real circus?" The first prize seemed to be right in our pockets when the president of the T. Eaton store, who was also one of the judges, saw the shoe box on top of the second wagon. "Hello," he said. "Now here's a good idea. Look at this, Sam. These boys have a special pet in reserve. Now that's what I call smart merchandising." Well, of course, everyone crowded around to see what the special pet was. And Bruce, with a silly smile on his dopey face, untied the box and lifted up the lid. That is halfway through this chapter. You're going to have to wait till tomorrow to find out what's in there. And before then, you are going to make some predictions about what animal is inside that box. So your question today is a predicting question. Your guess has to be an animal, and I want you to take 3 different guesses and post them on in your comment box. Here's a hint. None of the animals mentioned so far in the parade are the same as the animal in this box. So they already said there's a skunk in the parade. This is not a skunk. They already said there's tadpoles. These are not tadpoles in here. They already said there's gophers. This is not a gopher in here. So it's an animal that has not yet been mentioned. Okay, good luck with that.